in your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me!
Yes, sir.
Don't talk!
You've got mail. You've got mail.
You better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me!
Yes, sir.
Don't talk! Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me!
Yes, sir.
Don't talk! Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me!
Yes, sir.
Don't talk! Don't talk! Don't talk! Don't talk! Don't talk! Don't talk! Don't talk!
You've got mail.
I didn't say there's a conversation. Hands your hair! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand?
Please do not shoot me.
Then listen to my instructions.
I'm trying to just do what you
Don't talk! Listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me!
Yes, sir.
Don't talk!
You've got mail.
Stop right there! Stop! Stop! Get on the ground, both of you! Lay down on the ground! Lay down on the ground! Who else is in the room?
Nobody.
Nobody else is in the room?
Nobody.
Are you positive?
Nobody. Absolutely positive.
Okay. Since apparently we have a failure for you to comprehend simple instructions, I'm going to go over some of them again, okay? Can you both hear and understand me?
Yes.
All right. If you make a mistake, another mistake, there's a very severe possibility you're both going to get shot. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
All right.
What the?
This is, shut up. I'm not here to be tactful or diplomatic with you. You listen, you obey. For one thing, did I tell you to move, young man? Did I tell you to
No, sir. No,
put
sir.
both
No,
your
sir.
hands,
No, sir. No, sir.
put both your hands on the top of your head and interlace your fingers. Take your feet and cross your left foot over your right foot. Who else is in the room?
Nobody.
All right, stand by, we have contact. All right. Are you both drunk?
No.
All right. So you're not going to have any problems understanding anything that I tell you, right?
Yes.
All right.
Can I go to my room?
No, you're not going to do anything but come towards us. Young man, you are not to move. You're to put your eyes down and look down at the carpet. You're to keep your fingers interlaced behind your head. You're to keep your feet crossed. If you move, we're going to consider that a threat, and we are going to deal with it, and you may not survive it. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Young lady, shut up and listen. All right? You are to keep your feet crossed. Take both of your hands, put them flat in front of you. You are to push yourself up to a kneeling position. Kneeling position. Now, put both your hands in the air. Okay, crawl towards us.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Stop. Okay. Cuff, grab the pole.
No, Rich, pull
Pull,
this
Rich,
way.
pull. Let me know when you're clear. Clear? No, you're not clear. You haven't registered yet.
You're not. You'll be in the chain so we figure out exactly what's going on, okay? Just be cool and we'll be done.
Okay, when you're done with that, lay her flat. Okay, I need one more cuff up. Okay. This is the deal. We're going to do almost like we did before. Okay? Have a seat. Okay, young man, listen to my instructions and do not make a mistake. You are to keep your legs crossed. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
You are to put both of your hands palm down straight out in front of you. Push yourself up to a kneeling position. I said keep your legs crossed!
I'm sorry.
I didn't say there's a conversation. Hands up in the air! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand?
Please do not shoot me.
Then listen to my instructions.
I'm trying to just do what you
Don't talk! Listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me!
Yes, sir.
Don't go! Get up on him. Okay, hold on him. One with me. Key card, key card. Key card.
You've got mail.
I'm sorry.
I didn't say there's a conversation. Hands up in the air! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand?
Please do not shoot me.
Then listen to my instructions.
I'm trying to just do what you
Don't talk! Listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me!
Yes, sir.
Don't go!
You've got mail.
I'm sorry.
I didn't say there's a conversation. Hands up in the air! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand?
Please do not shoot me.
Then listen to my instructions.
I'm trying to just do what you
Don't talk! Listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me!
Yes, sir.
Don't go!
You've got mail.
I'm sorry.
I didn't say there's a conversation. Hands up in the air! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand?
Please do not shoot me.
Then listen to my instructions.
I'm trying to just do what you
Don't talk! Listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do
You've got mail.
I didn't say there's a conversation. Hands in the air! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand?
Please do not shoot me.
Then listen to my instructions.
I'm trying to just do what you
Don't talk! Listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me!
Yes, sir.
Don't talk!
You've got mail.
Sorry.
I didn't say there's a conversation. Hands in the air! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand?
Please do not shoot me.
Then listen to my instructions.
I'm trying to just do what you
Don't talk! Listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me!
Yes, sir.
Don't talk!
You've got mail.
Sorry.
I didn't say there's a conversation. Hands in the air! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand?
Please do not shoot me.
Then listen to my instructions.
I'm trying to just do what you
Don't talk! Listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me!
Yes, sir.
Don't talk!
You've got mail. You've got mail.
A judge found a Baltimore police officer not guilty today in the case of Freddie Gray. Gray was severely injured last year while in police custody. His death led to rioting. Edward Nero is the second of 6 officers to stand trial, the first trial to reach a verdict. Chip Reed is in Baltimore.
Officer Edward Nero arrived at court today facing the possibility of years behind bars, and when the verdicts of not guilty on all counts were read by Judge Barry Williams, Nero burst into tears. Nero, in yellow in this cell phone video of Freddie Gray's arrest, was not charged with his death. The most serious charges were assault and failing to buckle Gray's seatbelt in the police van, where he sustained a fatal spinal cord injury. The judge rejected the state's claim of recklessness and negligence, saying there has been no information presented at this trial that the defendant intended for any crime to happen. In a statement, Nero's attorney said his client is elated that this nightmare is over. He also accused state's attorney Marilyn Mosby of rushing to charge him and completely disregarding the facts last May when she charged Nero and 5 other officers before the violent protests had even ended.
To the people of Baltimore and the demonstrators across America, I heard your call for no justice, no peace.
2 of the 6 officers have now gone to trial with no convictions. The first ended in a mistrial. Mosby's office, which is under a gag order, did not respond to our request for a comment. But Billy Murphy, attorney for Freddie Gray's family, said the case against the other officers, especially those charged directly in Gray's death, is far from over.
In this case, does not define the other cases. In no way. And Judge Williams was very careful to distinguish this officer's lack of culpability from many of the other officers.
The entire Baltimore Police Department was ordered to report to work today, and dozens of other officers were brought in from neighboring jurisdictions just in case there was violence. But Nora, there were only a few dozen protesters, and they were peaceful.
All right, Chip Reed, thank you.
You've got mail.
A Milwaukee jury acquits a former police officer in the on-duty shooting of a black man last year that ignited riots on the city's north side. NBC 26's John Erickson is live in the Green Bay newsroom tonight with the very latest. John?
Stacey, jurors found Officer Dominique Hagan-Brown, who is also African-American, not guilty
You've
of the death
got mail.
of 23-year-old Seville Smith. The shooting happened after a brief chase after a traffic stop last August. Smith had a gun when he ran, but the case hinged on whether he was a threat when Hagan-Brown fired the shot that killed him. Smith's family members reacted angrily to the verdict today, swearing and leaving immediately from the courtroom. Here's Smith's father now.
They already knew that they was going to find him not guilty anyway because they're trying to hide behind shields. And I would like to say, too, for us, law is changing. We're not animals. And why is they trained? They keep talking about they trained to kill. Why is they supposed to be trained to kill us when they supposed to be trained to protect and serve us?
Prosecutors argued that Smith was defenseless. Hagan-Brown's attorneys argued that he had to make a split-second decision. Now, the officer in this case is also charged with sex crimes in a separate case. After that investigation, Milwaukee police fired him. Live in the newsroom, John Erickson, NBC 26.
This court finds that the state has failed to meet its burden on all charges. Therefore, there is a finding of not guilty as to every count and each defendant of conspiracy, official misconduct, and obstruction of justice.
You've got mail.
Today in Minnesota, a police officer was found not guilty in the shooting death of a black driver. Dean Reynolds is following the trial.
It's okay for them to kill him. As the jury's acquittal sank in, emotions spilled onto the plaza outside the courthouse in St. Paul.
Damn! What is it gonna take? I'm mad as hell right now. Yes, I am.
Valerie Castile is the mother of Philando Castile, who was shot to death by police officer Geronimo Yanez during a routine traffic stop almost a year ago.
This city killed my son, and the murderer gets away.
We got pulled over for a busted tail light in the back.
The case gained national notoriety because the immediate aftermath of the shooting was live streamed on Facebook by Castile's girlfriend, Diamond Reynolds.
He was trying to get out his ID.
That's Yanez screaming at her with his gun still drawn.
I told him not to reach for it. I told him to get his hand out.
In the midst of the traffic stop, Castile told the officer he had a firearm. But Yanez insisted on the witness stand that when Castile reached into his pocket, he feared for his life and fired off 7 shots, 5 of them hitting Castile. Reynolds said Castile was simply complying with the policeman's request for identification.
You told him to get his ID, sir, and his driver's license.
John Choi is the Ramsey County prosecutor who charged the policeman with manslaughter.
He went beyond what the law requires. He was compliant, he wasn't resisting, and at the end of the day, this was a traffic stop. Unfortunately, the jury didn't see it that way.
Late today, it was announced that Yanez will no longer be a police officer at the suburban department where he worked. But we'll have to wait and see, Scott, if that's enough to calm the protests that are planned for later tonight.
Dean Reynolds, thanks.
You've got mail.
Things got ugly early as protesters clashed with police on the streets of St. Louis.
No justice! No peace!
Some promising more unrest.
We are going to shut this city down.
Police have responded with a show of force tonight after a judge's decision to acquit former St. Louis police officer Jason Stockley in the shooting death of Anthony Lamar Smith. Smith was shot dead after a police chase in 2011. Stockley claimed he saw the suspected drug dealer reach for a gun, but only the officer's DNA was found on the weapon, leading to allegations that it was planted. Officer Stockley can be heard on dashcam during the chase say he's going to kill Smith. In issuing his decision today, the judge said he couldn't say that the state had proved every element of murder beyond a reasonable doubt.
The verdict has created frustration and anger for many in our community.
Smith leaves behind a young daughter. His family spoke through an attorney.
They were shot.
The case has echoes of the 2014 unrest in nearby Ferguson following the fatal shooting of Michael Brown by a white police officer. Brown's family has been in contact with the Smiths.
I'm reliving right now what this family going through.
Tonight, concern that protests will grow, forcing this community to relive Ferguson as well.
Many businesses here in downtown St. Louis closed early today. You can see barricades in front of the courthouse, and schools have canceled after-school activities. The governor has even placed the National Guard on standby should things escalate. Lester?
Blake McCoy tonight, thank you. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.
You've got mail.
And now to our other developing story, a not guilty verdict for a Cleveland police officer who shot 2 people in a car after a high-speed chase. That city on edge tonight. The police chief asking parents to keep their children home, warning police will not tolerate any violence. As the verdict came down, officers in riot gear bracing for protests. That acquitted officer, one of 13 who fired 137 shots at that car, killing the occupants inside. That acquitted officer stood on the hood, firing directly into the windshield. Here's ABC's Alex Perez with the verdict and the reaction.
Tonight, demonstrators are taking to the streets in Cleveland after police officer Michael Brillo was cleared of wrongdoing in the shooting deaths of Timothy Russell and Melissa Williams, both unarmed.
I therefore find the defendant not guilty.
Family members of the victims outraged tonight.
It's not fair to my family. It's not fair to Tim and Melissa, because there's another side to this story which never came out.
Announcing his decision, Judge John O'Donnell warned that recent tensions over deaths of unarmed African Americans by law enforcement in other cities shouldn't cloud the verdict.
Guilty or not guilty, the verdict should be no cause for a civilized society to celebrate or riot.
Russell and Williams were killed back in 2012 after leading police on a nearly 25-minute chase that ended up involving more than 100 officers. Police, who say at one point they thought they were being shot at, finally cornered the car. Multiple officers were firing, and Brillo jumped on the hood of Russell and Williams' car and shot 15 times into the windshield. Brillo later defending his actions to investigators.
I thought my partner and I would be shot and that we were going to be killed.
The judge is saying today the officer's use of deadly force was reasonable. Protesters in the streets today also remembering another tragic Cleveland case, 12-year-old Tamir Rice, the boy who was holding a toy gun when he was shot and killed by police in November.
No racist! Police!
Tonight in Cleveland, the police chief urging parents to keep a close eye on their kids.
We don't want anybody caught up in an unnecessary situation, especially our kids.
And tonight, the Department of Justice announcing they will be reviewing the case and today's verdict. Cecilia, so it seems the situation not completely over here just yet.
You will be staying on this story for us. Alex, good to have you here with us in New York. Thanks.
You've got mail.
On Wednesday, a white Oklahoma police officer who fatally shot an unarmed black man last year was found not guilty of first-degree manslaughter. Jurors acquitted Tulsa officer Betty Jo Shelby. On September 16th, she shot and killed 40-year-old Terrence Crutcher. Shelby said she fired her weapon out of fear. She said Crutcher did not obey her commands to lie on the ground and appeared to reach inside his SUV for what she thought was a gun. Crutcher was unarmed. Prosecutors called Shelby overreactive. Partly confirmed by police dashcam video, they noted Crutcher had his hands in the air and wasn't combative. Helicopter video showed Crutcher walking away from Shelby, hands held above his head.
You've got mail.
Today, a jury in Pennsylvania found a police officer not guilty of murder. She had shot an unarmed man in the back, a killing that was captured on video, which is difficult to watch. Don Daler has that story.
A camera mounted on Officer Lisa Merkel's stun gun showed her tasing 59-year-old David Kasich 4 times after he fled from a traffic stop. As Kasich lay face down in the snow, his hands could be seen repeatedly disappearing underneath his body. Merkel is heard screaming at him 23 times to keep them where she can see them. The 15-year police veteran then fired her gun twice. She spoke shortly after her acquittal.
I truly wish it didn't happen, and that they should, I want them to know that.
Never wanted to shoot anybody.
The prosecution called the shooting unjustified. Kasik's nephew, Kevin Fetters.
She shot a man that was laying down facing away from him. The video shows that. Shot him. I mean, murdered him pretty much.
Keep your hands so I can see them.
Merkel said she feared Kasich was going for a gun. After the shooting, the 37-year-old officer administered CPR, but Kasich died at the scene. Police found a syringe by his body. Prosecutors said alcohol and drugs were in his system, but he was unarmed. Merkel, who's been on unpaid suspension, says she intends to return to police work.
This is taking a toll on me that nobody understands.
Merkel had pulled Kasich over for expired inspection and emission stickers, but he refused to stop until he reached his sister's house. Scott, he ran into her backyard where he ultimately died.
Don Daler reporting. Don, thank you.
You've got mail.
And we move on to another headline that broke late today, a verdict tonight after a police shooting that led to protests in Milwaukee, the officer firing, and then again after the suspect tosses his gun. Tonight, the jury acquitting him on all charges. And here's ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas with the video.
It was a deadly encounter with police over in seconds, caught on an officer's body cam. Here we see former officer Dominique Hagan-Brown pursuing Seville Smith, a suspect armed with a gun. They race around the front of a house to an alley. There you see the gun in Smith's hand. The officer fires the first shot. The suspect tosses the gun. Less than 2 seconds later, a second and fatal shot is fired. Smith dies at the scene. The incident last summer sparking protests and riots. Prosecutors say Smith was defenseless when shot in the chest. The defense claiming the officer feared for his life, making a split-second decision. Today, a Milwaukee County jury found the former officer not guilty in the shooting last August. The family tonight in anguish over the verdict.
We're not animals. Every time they take a shot, it's to kill you. It's to kill you because a dead man can't talk.
But the police chief says the former officer was vindicated. A year ago, I told the public I'd seen nothing in the video that was a violation of the law or policy.
So let's get to Pierre Thomas with us live tonight as well. And Pierre, the police defending that former officer's actions, but he's no longer with the force?
That's right, David. He was fired for an unrelated reason. He's the second officer acquitted in the fatal shooting of a black man in less than a week, exposing raw feelings and deepening divisions between police and some minority communities. David?
Pierre Thomas with us from Washington. Pierre, thank you.
You've got mail.
Next tonight, protests against the jury verdict in a deadly police shooting trial in Oklahoma. Officer Betty Shelby, the manslaughter charges, and overnight, the verdict, after shooting an unarmed man moments after he was seen with his hands in the air. ABC's Clayton Sandell in Tulsa.
No justice, no peace.
Tonight, the jury's acquittal of a Tulsa police officer is proving almost as controversial as the shooting itself.
Shots fired.
Officer Betty Shelby told 60 Minutes she opened fire on 40-year-old Terrence Crutcher, fearing he was reaching for a weapon.
I never want to kill anyone.
But Crutcher was unarmed, and the killing of a black man by a white officer made Tulsa the latest flashpoint in a nationwide debate over police use of force.
Terrence didn't have a gun. Terrence had his hands up, and she still got away with murder.
But Officer Shelby denies racism, and tonight her attorney says she wants her job back.
She thinks that she can help people understand and educate and what happened, why it happened, and try to help heal.
But tonight, Shelby's employment status and her future as a cop is up to Tulsa city officials, and they say a decision on that is coming soon. David?
Clayton, thank you.
You've got mail. You've got mail.
You will heal, Lord.
There are two reactions. One is a professional reaction, and that is the judge has issued his ruling. He has issued a verdict of not guilty. He has done so by writing a relatively reasoned opinion which sets forth in effect and in short that the state failed to meet its burden of proof. I can tell you on a personal level, being intimately familiar with all of the evidence in this case, the facts of this case, that I find the ultimate disposition, the ruling, to be appalling. Appallingly contrary to all of the evidence that was present, all of the evidence introduced into the record as a matter of an official entry in this case. And quite frankly, the family clearly is sorely disappointed. The community will be appropriately sorely disappointed. But to find not guilty as to any charge is a shocker.
You've got mail.
Former St. Louis police officer Jason Stockley has been found not guilty of a fatal 2011 shooting. Stockley shot and killed Anthony Lamar Smith in December of 2011 following a high-speed car chase. Prosecutors pointed to audio of Stockley threatening to kill Smith during the chase and alleged the former officer planted a gun in Smith's car to justify his actions. Stockley was the first St. Louis officer in nearly 20 years to be charged with murder over an on-duty shooting. Activists vowed mass disruptions like the sort seen during the Ferguson, Missouri protest if Stockley wasn't handed a guilty verdict.
You've got mail.
I didn't say this in conversation. Hands in the air! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand? Please do not shoot me. Then listen to my instructions. I'm trying to do what you don't talk, listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me? Yes, sir. Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me! Yes, sir. Don't talk! Get up on him.
You've got mail.
Yo, if I had 100 sheep and one of them got away, I would leave the 99 and go find that one. That's right. Look from the locks and jaws of Satan, I come creating, penetrating with force from the land of the lost and coming. Like Muhammad got the devil on the run, rising like the sun. Keep your eyes on the one, so the base. Did it bring forth a reborn nation up against the norm, creating a new formation. This foundation that I be standing on is firm. Look, y'all, we must learn. Oh, as a people, we gon' burn in the fire. Let's join hands with the Messiah. The Lamb be Elijah. For real, I ain't no liar. My deepest desire be to resurrect the carcass. Breathe like venom, then squeeze out all the venom with momentum and skill. We'll kill Satan at will. You and I be connected, protected by Ezekiel's will for real. I can sense a mental explosion on the move as God's chosen. Proceeding in motion, we become. Yes, indeed, the parts are forming. Running about her, cause Babylon is falling. Living all in the midst of devilish anguish. His aim is to kill us all with this language. He's the mischief maker. Plus he's wicked by nature, the modern mind shaper. So hey, will Jacob wake up the lion? He's in Judah sleep. I wonder who will wake him, bring him to his feet. Speak now or forever hold your peace. The violence of this beast must cease. Look out, I see a lion. Where he's in Judah sleep. I wonder who will wake him, bring him to his feet. Speak now or forever hold your peace. The violence of this beast must cease. Now look, for 4 days, he's been sleeping in the tomb. Fed like the zoom, no light, it's like the moon. His blood be maroon, plus it covers the earth. Crucified daily, waiting this new birth. For real, the truth hurts the wicked evildoer. He knows that the future will bring a new ruler. So look, don't let him fool you with his maneuvers and wisdom. Seeking, you'll find that he uses symbolism with this rhythm. Black will represent the hesitant brains. Hit the water down the flames and sort out the remains. Everything must change, nothing stays the same. Our struggle's been ordained, so just chill, maintain. I know it's strange, but look, one came to raise us up. Farad has arrived, beware, don't self-destruct, keep the focus. The red dragon's coming with the locusts. Some don't notice, so they engage in shit that's bogus. But look like Moses, I'ma free you from your bondage, from those who oppress us, wicked, evil, demonics. I promise that I'ma flaunt this everywhere I go. My people gotta know, so I can't hold it in no more. For real, death is on in that evil factor. We gotta resurrect quick if we expect to be here out. But that can see disaster. It's all in our mouth. It's the shock of the hour, man. The clock be stuck on 6. I wonder who can fix this problem from Zion. I'm in the wilderness trying to wake a dead lion. There's a lion where he's in Judah. I wonder who will wake. Bring him to his feet. Speak now or forever hold your peace. The balance of this peace must cease. Look down, I see a lion where he's in Judah. I wonder who will wake. Bring him to his feet. Speak now or forever hold your peace. The balance of this peace must cease. Still trying to fight. Darkness covers the body. There's no consciousness. There's no breathing, no pulse. Broken dead is real. That sheet that's lost. Got a confidence in which they don't know what sin is. And if they don't be the mouth, then we choke in this. It's continuous bleeding, therefore repentance is needed. Wickedness can be defeated when we submit, it's deleted. This beast be heated. He knows the fire's kindling. The curtains in that land of Midian be trembling. I see assembling a large number, many men. Coming from out the grave, they never go back in again. Lazarus, come forth, remove that napkin, take it off. The force be with you, so lion, let him hear your voice. I can hear the roars, coming from daily tribal wars. Flesh wounds and scars be like all over the stars in the river of blood. We be swimming in sin. I see the lesbian and the million feminine men. These days be numbered, the end is right in sight. Behold, he comes quick like a thief in the night. At the head of 10,000, he be moving the fight. Burning holes at his feet, look, observe the flight. In the bottomless pit, they be falling, still dying. Who can save the lion and bring him home to Zion? There's a lion where he's in Judah. Sleep. I wonder who will wake. Bring him to his feet. Speak now or forever hold your peace. The violence of this beast must cease. Look out, I see the lion where he's in Judah. Sleep. I wonder who will wake. Bring him to his feet. Speak now or forever hold your peace. The violence of this beast must cease. There's a lion where he's in Judah. Sleep. I wonder who will wake. Bring him to his feet. Speak now or forever hold your peace. The violence of this beast must cease. There's a lion where
you've got mail.
I wonder who will wake him. Get up, lion. Did you think we was gonna stay down forever? New day. 1997. Beware, Obama got for 442 goddamn damnable years. The topic is laid strict. I see eagles gathered everywhere. The eagles still be gathered. Come on. Don't stop.
I'm not here to be tactful and diplomatic with you. You listen, you obey. For one thing, did I tell you to move, young man? Did I tell you to put both your hands on the top of your head and interlace your fingers? Take your feet and cross your left foot over your right foot. Who else is in the room? Nobody. Are you both drunk? No. Alright. So you're not going to have any problems understanding anything that I tell you, right? Correct. Alright. Can I go to my room? No, you're not going to do anything but come towards us. Young man, you are not to move. You're to put your eyes down and look down at the carpet. You're to keep your fingers interlaced behind your head. You're to keep your feet crossed. If you move, we're going to consider that a threat, and we are going to deal with it, and you may not survive it. Do you understand me? Yes, sir. Young lady, shut up and listen. All right? You are to keep your feet crossed, take both of your hands, put them flat in front of you. You are to push yourself up to a kneeling position. Kneeling position. Now, put both your hands in the air. Okay, crawl towards us. I'm so sorry. Okay. Stop. Okay. Cuff, grab and pull.
No, Rich, pull
Pull,
this
Rich,
way.
Pull. Let me know when you're clear. Clear? No, you're not clear. You haven't pressed her yet. You're not. You'll be in the chain so we figure out exactly what's going on, okay? Just be cool and we'll be done. Okay, when you're done with that, lay her flat. Okay, I need one more cuff up. Okay. This is the deal. We're going to do almost like we did before. Okay? Okay, young man, listen to my instructions and do not make a mistake. You are to keep your legs crossed. Do you understand me? Yes, sir. You are to put both of your hands palms down straight out in front of you. Push yourself up to a kneeling position. I said keep your legs crossed! I'm sorry. I didn't say this is a conversation. Hands in the air! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand? Please do not shoot me. Then listen to my instructions. I'm trying to do what you don't talk! Listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me? Yes, sir. Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me! Yes, sir. Don't talk!
You've got mail. You've got mail. You've got mail. You've got mail.
I didn't say this is a conversation. Keep your air! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand? And listen to my instructions. Don't talk, listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me? Crawl towards me! Crawl towards me! instructions. I'm going to go over some of them again. Okay? Can you both hear and understand me? Yes. All right.
You've got mail.